I asked myself, are you happy every day?
Do you?
Every day, bro. I wanted something to be proud of for myself. And I don't think I could help people if I wasn't happy. That's just honest. It creates happiness in me. And it's a little proud moment that I get to go, man, like I was part of making that. That's pretty cool.
Hi, Johnny.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on the podcast as our very first guest. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good.
And privileged to be the first one.
I know.
So
very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So for those watching and listening, we are filming this first episode in Raw Fitness, which is a fantastic CrossFit gym based here in Mount Maunganui in New Zealand. And it is the gym which Johnny owns and runs day to day, which is awesome. So Johnny, I'm sure those listening will be super keen just to learn more about you and your story and how you just got to this point in your life.
Sure.
I definitely am. So I think we should just get straight into it. Let's do it. Johnny, what does success look like to you?
What does success look like to me? It's being content. It's finding something that you love to do and doing that every day and just being happy. For me, a major thing is to get to where I've been now is really deciding, just asking myself a question of what do I want to become? Who do I want to become? And am I happy with where I am now? And I had to make some changes at a younger age to pursue that. So it's really just finding that thing that makes you happy, and that just makes you want to get out of bed every day and go hustle. And that just brings you back to like a big journey of personal growth. So obviously for me, it's the gym, it's the health and fitness industry. I love helping people. I've always wanted to be able to have the resources to help people. And it's not even just about training. It's just like helping people become a better version of themselves, which is basically what I've had to go through. And basically use my past or my experiences and hopefully pass that on to others. Because in my head, the training, the programming, etc., that's the easy part.
Yeah.
It's really like pushing people to challenge themselves to like pursue a better version of themselves,
right.
which was my biggest journey. And even to this day, I'm still consistently trying to be better, even by the slightest. So happiness is that's basically what happiness is to me.
Yeah.
And even now, owning the gym, I literally ask myself every day, do I still love what I do? Am I still happy with what I'm doing?
Right.
Because it's so hard to do these things, right? Of whatever your essence is or whatever you're doing. It's so hard to maintain that for longevity. If it's just not something you're passionate about.
Right.
And honestly, my life changed when I finally took a leap of faith of pursuing the thing that I wanted. I risked everything, like literally, like I was broke as shit,
right.
homeless to the point,
right.
But I was
what
like,
age were you then?
Man, I was probably 22, 23.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, man, if I could look back then to where I am now, and obviously people mostly probably know me from where I am in Raw, which is probably about 3 years. And then there's another side of me when I used to live in Auckland, which is most of where I did my work.
Okay.
Back then I was like rock bottom, man.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? It was just like, this is a bit hectic, but I actually thought I was a piece of shit.
Right.
So
why?
I just was nothing in my eyes, like I had so many people around me going to uni, in my head, they were just already in this path to success.
Okay.
And I was young and I had nothing really going for me. I just loved to train.
Okay. When did you discover that?
I've always loved to train.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Since you were like a young
since I was a
guy.
kid, man. So even just like classic watching Bruce Lee movies, shout out Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan movies. I've always loved to train, move my body. But yeah, that sort of stemmed from that growing up. And I think like when I was younger, I just had in my head nothing going for me, but I probably did. And it was just really hard to snap out of that sort of mindset. And there's always like landmarks in your life. And it's like a point where it's like life challenges you to change. It's either you risk it or you don't, and then you might miss it and there might be another one. So that was like a landmark in my life that at 22 or 23, I just was like, I'm better than this. I'm worth more than this. But nothing that I have now was mine. Like I had to go and earn it, and I had to really like risk it. And I just decided to pursue fitness. And I had to ask myself, like, why do I want to do that? Like, I just love being around people and helping them, you know, become a better version of themselves, whether it's to help them mentally or physically. And that's the biggest thing. So yeah.
What did it feel like when you were 22 and you felt like you were at rock bottom and you were seeing other people going on to do things that you felt were making them successful? Like, what did that feel like? And how did you know at that point that you had this kind of like higher potential?
So that's a tough one, man, because at 22, it felt like I was alone, like left out, you know, and that wasn't anyone's fault. It was just literally that in a way, I'd been put into that position, like, you know what I mean? Like that was the path that I was given. And it was really hard to stay positive. Like this is why attitude is so major to me, because I had to really sort my shit out. Right. So even to this day, you'll see me in the gym, like, you know, it's all about attitude. Right. So it's just at that point that I felt really left out, felt really alone, but also like it was kind of just a moment where I just had to ask myself some serious questions. Like I knew I was worth more, but like again, I haven't earned anything, so I had to really change my attitude about that. So I just was like, what I need to do to be better. So then I just went on this pathway of actually, you know what? This is who you are now. This is who you're like, it is what it is. It's meant to be. So the only way to get better is to just, you know, pursue this path of just like becoming a better version of yourself. I don't even know what that was going to look like. You know, I just found being in the fitness industry led me to all these amazing things. Like I genuinely just loved turning up to work and then helping people. That made me very happy. And then I'm a big observer, if you know.
Yes, I know.
So kind of like...
Have you always been like that?
Yeah, it's weird. I've always been like that since I was born in the Philippines. And I just remember so many times I just sit in the car when we're driving and I'm just like sitting there, just like looking out and thinking. And so I think I've always had that skill. And even now, I'll just sit at sunrise and
you do.
chill, you know, listen to music, and I'm just thinking. I'm always thinking, reflecting.
You are.
Yeah. So it's just like ingrained in me.
What are you thinking about? And do you find that that's like a positive dialogue a lot of the time, or
it's in between? This is something I've always kind of like battled. Like a lot of it is reflecting. Like it's actually just being grateful for who I've become and where I am now, and reflecting back and like, man, it was tough then, but like that little bit of suffering led to like all these amazing things. And how did I do that? And so it's like reminding myself of the basics that I've acquired, the skills, to be able to maintain the life that I live. And it's like not getting caught up in that change, because that's the hardest thing about like when you've grown and you get to a certain point, right? It's like some people fully change. And my thing is like, am I still the same person? Are my disciplines still there? What are my values, my essence? Am I still doing all of that? Do you know what I mean? I'm still like, that's the same thing. Like, I'm literally doing the same thing every day. Like, especially with the gym, with work, like what is our essence? Like, is the community good? Are we still doing the same thing? Do I do the highs and the buys, etc.? Like, that's literally all I'm thinking of, right?
So you always come back to those values.
Yeah. Like, a strong foundation is key, man, because and that's the one thing that, like, the skill I learned growing up, from being that person who had nothing going for them to like where I am now, is just like constant work on your strong foundation. So like, it's just the basics. It's honestly not flash. It's actually so repetitive. It's pretty nuts, but for some reason I love boring.
But what does boring mean? Is that just repetition?
Yeah, repetition of the same thing over and over again. And it's like, you're just drilling it until it becomes normal. Like, you don't have to think about it, Like, sometimes I'll catch myself doing something and I'm just like doing it and I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't even have to think about that, So, which is pretty cool.
Right. What would an example of that be?
Man, I eat rice every day. So one thing in the gym that I love doing, that really actually stood out to me, being somewhere at one point, I was a lot younger. I walked into a gym. I can't even remember what it was, but it just, this point, someone kept saying, oh, hey, Johnny, like, welcome in, like, hey, Johnny, see you, Johnny. And that's what I've brought into my space as well.
Massively,
do you know what I mean? And that I just do naturally. And it's like, you're building a rapport, you're connecting with your members, and it's inclusive, and it's that longevity that you're creating with people. So, which is to this day, like, the most basic thing you can do,
right?
But it goes a long way.
It goes a huge way.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. So, yeah, just stuff like that. It's what, it's like strong foundations like that is what really stands out to people, and it's their presence,
How much have you had to sit down with yourself and reflect on what your values are? Like, when did you realize, what was really important to you in that way? And,
Yeah. Well, I'd say a lot of what I had went through, so like 23, I'd say 27, like that point, I was just like hustling, trying to figure me out and kind of just going with the flow, not knowing where I was going or just enjoying life, because I was, for once, was just happy about being able to look towards something. Like, it was actually just so fun to find something that I love. Then at 27, then I realized, okay, like, what direction am I going, and what are the things that stand out to me, the values, etc. And that's probably when I started thinking about things more intently. And so, like, now owning a gym, it's just all like, it's all laid out for me now. So none of it's really changed, but it's more like, the direction you're going, your essence and your values. It's just like referring to that often if you need to. Like, sometimes when you're doing something, you kind of just get lost, right?
Yeah.
And it's just natural, because things go fast. You either keep up or you get left behind,
Right.
There's just
life just happens to people.
bro.
Yeah,
exactly. And so when things get fast, it gets a bit hectic, it's out of your control. It's good to have those things to just like stop and come back to, and then you go back on the horse and you're just kind of like grinding away, or you're doing what you're doing. So it's nice to have that strong foundation, because every time you kind of fall behind or you fall, it's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes you just have to slow things down, because it is just a bit hectic, and it's good to have that moment where you can reflect. And usually when I reflect, it's like, man, this time last year, holy shit, I was nowhere near the person I was, or my understanding of what life is, or where I am now. What that word was, what it meant to me then, is like is so much different to what it is now.
Okay.
So it's like, you just think back about the learnings you've had, and I'm a big learner, man. Like, it's massive to me. I'm not like school educated, so don't ask me any mathematical questions. But I'm a life learner, and that's
you
like,
are.
that's
because you
massive.
observe and you reflect, right?
Yeah,
That's where a
yeah.
lot of it comes from.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
So, like, again, that's because I'm consistent, you know what I mean? Of since whenever it was, I'm consistently doing that, and it's built the habit for me to do that, and it's now natural. So it's just like, you know, and that goes towards everything else I do.
Where do you think that comes from?
Good question. You know what it is, man? It's funny because so when things kind of got really hard in my teens, you know, my life just went the opposite direction of where I thought it was going to go.
You were in Auckland, hey?
Yeah.
You moved, yeah.
So it just went the opposite direction, and all these events happened, and I was just lost, right? And I think what happened was, and this is why it's so important to not deprive yourself of events and situations. And even sometimes it's out of your control, which is, you know, hectic. But sometimes it's more the ones when we actually stop ourselves from experiencing things, because those moments could be key moments for you growing as a person. So like, when things happened that weren't so cool, and it was pretty tough, I think because those things happened, it backed me up in a corner, and fight or flight kicked in, and I just had to fight my way out of it. Do you know what I mean? And so my reaction was survival. And so basically, like, there was no other way. It was just forward.
Yeah.
So along the way, I had to get smart. Like, I had to grow up quick. And if I didn't, I was gonna
ask, what did you feel like would happen if you
like
didn't?
left to dust, like
really,
like no support, no nothing. And so it was like,
did you not have much like family?
Oh, I do. It was just like, obviously, like with those events, like it was more because like I had you know, like there were family issues and whatnot, and there was just stuff going on that just kind of led to like this other pathway of life. And I had to really just sit down and accept that. And because I'd accepted that, it just like gave me this different pathway of like life, different perspectives to what I was taught, and actually just on a journey of becoming who I am now. So it was actually, if anything, I wouldn't change anything that's happened, because there's no way I'd be the person I am now. But it was just like a moment that I had to really get my ass into gear, and it helped me acquire these skills of, you know, and sometimes that needs to happen, and it goes for the better. The small time of suffering is worth it for the longevity you're going to have and your happiness, you know. It's just hard to see sometimes, because sometimes when we're suffering and whatever that looks like, we tend to back out of it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is absolutely normal. But you know, if you can see through that, that time to suffer is nothing compared to the amount of happiness you're going to have later on.
Because of it.
For sure.
And so I'm interested in this period of your life when you're about 22, 23. Like, you said that it just kind of dawned on you that you needed to change. Like, what did you do? Because I feel like a lot of people listening will be able to relate to that in some capacity. I can. I've had those moments in my life, right, where you're just like, I need to get myself together, you know, to go forward. So how, in the first year, like, how did you show up for yourself to go on that path? Like, what did that involve?
It was going in with an open mind. So I just completely wiped everything. Like, for me, I had to just admit that I knew nothing, and I just became a sponge. So basically, I changed sort of careers, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to be a sponge. I don't know anything. I'm going to learn as much as I can.
That's so good.
And honestly, that changed my life. My whole attitude towards everything was like complete, you know, 180. So it was pretty nuts.
Would you describe that almost like an ego death? Because it sounds like you kind of just obliterated your ego
a little bit,
to then move forward. And I think a lot of us nowadays struggle with accepting that we don't know much.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Pride can get in the way quite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So did it feel like that? Did you just kind of...
A little bit.
Yeah.
It was also just like understanding that what I had before, like, surely nothing could be as bad as that.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, what have I got to lose? So this is the whole thing about when you're on you're pursuing a better version of yourself. Like, a lot of people are scared to fail, and like, fuck, I can't even count how many times I've failed, even to this day, you know, like daily. But to me, being a sponge and opening yourself up to certain things and trying to learn as much as you can, and you know, there's going to be lots of failures, and you're going to try different things and whatnot, and you're never going to get it right the first time. If you do, like, awesome. Do you know what I mean? That's how it's meant to be. But because, like I always say to people, failure is my teacher, right? So because I failed so many times and trying to become this person that I wanted to be, even with work and, you know, all that sort of stuff, it was like I was so good at moderating like emotions. So like I'd get through one failure, there's another one, and do you know what I mean? It's like there's a mountain behind the next mountain. And that's why now it's so crazy. Like you said to me one time in the gym, "Oh, Johnny, you're so content," and that content comes from that. Like nothing phases me as much anymore. Like I reckon the only thing that would phase me if something happened to my huskies.
Johnny does have two of the most adorable huskies ever. Yeah.
Because I've gone through so much of that,
right?
Like, and that's like a major skill to have, is just being able to handle failure. And the thing is, every failure happens for a reason. It's a lesson in life, right? Sometimes people get caught up in it and they get in a rut and it makes it worse. Right. I had to learn to take a step back and just be like, okay, what is the reason? What is the lesson from that event? Okay, cool. So this is what I'm going to do now. For it may be the next encounter. I mean, another failure is going to happen and it might not be the same. But then, you know, my tool belt's ready for maybe a similar encounter. And it was just being mindful that those things happen for a reason. And this is like the hardest thing for most people, is like we need to accept, well, I accepted that things happen for a reason. And I am where I am because that's where I'm supposed to be, right? Until the day I'm not. So that's the day I'm not, is because I've earned a different place, or my lane, you know, has kind of moved in somewhere else because I've worked on that. I've worked on those, you know, failures that I've encountered. So,
Did you have the same outlook on failure before this turning point?
Nah.
Right. So it was really that kind of like rock bottom. You were there.
Yeah, bro.
You were in it.
Like baby Johnny, like it was just nuts. Like things happened and I was just kind of like, oh, why am I in this position? Like, why is this happening to me? Blah, blah, blah.
That's
I used to complain heaps about life and how hard life was and all that sort of shit.
Really?
And then I finally...
That's not like you at all now. That is interesting.
I know. And then I finally changed my mindset, right? When I changed my mindset, I was able to build consistency over that. And consistency is really important. Yeah. Because it gives you that habit. And with that habit, it gives you good attitude. And my attitude changed towards life. You know, so much still happens that's not ideal, right? But I'm able to moderate through that because I've just built, you know, that habit for it. And it's just like, instead of letting me get down about it, it might affect me for a little bit, but then I'm out of it.
Like your mood, for example, on the day you're
exactly right. So and it's not perfect. You're still trying to figure that out. But it's manageable. Whereas baby Johnny, far out, man.
Would it just throw you?
It would just throw me off big time. It was just like, life was just so hard, you know. But just I guess different circumstances as well. So
that's so interesting how you said you used to think like, why is this happening to me? Do you think part of that huge turning point was you just recognizing that you needed to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, the biggest one thing I identified was like no one was going to do it for me,
Right.
and I didn't have any backup.
Right.
So like I had to really just find it in me to go, okay, like if I can't help myself, no one can help me.
Right.
Which is, I was like, oh shit.
No one's coming to save me. Yeah.
Exactly. So people would still give me advice or whatnot, but none of it made sense because I couldn't help myself. So I needed to change my mindset about what was going on. And it relates back to even with work, you know, things that happen at work, good, bad. If I just can't help myself, then nothing anyone ever does can help me. So yeah.
Would you say then, so what was your biggest obstacle up until that point? Was it your mindset?
Yeah, bro.
Really?
Biggest obstacle, yeah, mainly my mindset. It's like no one goes through trauma or what I've gone through at least, and my family without developing depression. Okay, so my family was basically separated through depression because my dad, etc. And that just carried on to me. Okay. And I honestly admit to people I do have some sort of depression. I mean, fuck, you can't work as much as, you know, exact, you know what I mean? And have those experiences and say that you don't have that. But it's building that awareness through that, and it's changing. It's like catching yourself that you are in that sort of like mood. It's temporary. I can only make it worse if I continue feeding it, which is hard to snap out of. And again, it's the consistency of like trying to like snap yourself out of that and developing the habit for that.
How do you do that?
Yet I don't really know just yet. So
you don't know yet.
I just sort of
it just
do
happens.
it. Yeah.
Well, you probably just carry on with your habits, right? Is what you're saying. So you just know, you kind of know at this point, like, okay, I need to go train. I need to go out with my huskies, right? It's will it be stuff like that you'll just know will like help you in the moment, or?
Yeah, so funny you mentioned training. Training's a massive one for me. Like I said, I've always trained. It's not just CrossFit. I've done other types of training, but training, it's funny enough when people ask like, oh, why do you train? It's like, yes, I compete, whatnot, but I train because it keeps me grounded, and I find so much value in doing something that just sets you back down. You know, this is why I love being in the fitness industry, because I have a platform where I can help people, you know, whether it's physically or mentally, but you know, a lot of it is that this is for people to feel safe and come and look after themselves. And that's what I do for myself, even to this day. So that platform is so important, and I just feel like we forget that sometimes. So even to this day, bro, I train because it keeps me grounded. I just have obviously goals and aspirations. I just, for some reason, again, I love the boring side of training. So I'm just doing reps and reps of the same stuff because it correlates to my life, where it reminds me, oh, that's right. If I do this consistently with good form and do that in my life, it's the same thing, you know? So I'm building that consistency again, and it's just all relative, you know? So I know it sounds pretty boring, but you know.
It's cool. Do you feel like you kind of crave failure now then?
Yeah,
in a way?
Yeah,
right.
It's funny. I invite it.
You invite it.
Yeah, I invite it. So like failure is another opportunity of growth, in my opinion. Nowadays, it's like I don't gain as much from failure because I've just done it so many times. Do you know what I mean? You know, when you do something for so long, you get to the point that you work so hard just for little gain. It's kind of like that. But it still excites me that I don't know what to do. Right. And then like the unknown kind of excites me because that's kind of how I've grown up out of the hole to get to where I am. And so whenever something different happens or that kind of like threw me off, I'm like, oh shit. Okay, so what's happening here? So it's kind of an opportunity to grow. So
and reflect, right?
Exactly. And
right.
The craziest thing is like people fail and they think they're gonna like die or something.
That was me for so many years. Going through law school, honestly, I was the biggest perfectionist ever. So it's really interesting hearing that, because I would feel like if I felt like I was failing, that was a threat to my identity.
Mm.
And it sounds like that's what you were kind of able to separate.
Yeah.
Going forward after you were like 22, 23, you can separate yourself from that.
Yeah.
But I think so many of us struggle with, we just see the failure as part of us, and it goes to the heart of who we are.
Yeah, man.
Right? And then it makes you fear it. And then you just want to stay the hell away from it, which then can sometimes mean that you don't go after things that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're so scared of failing. So I think a huge part of that is the consistency thing, just inviting it, as you say. So scary though.
100%.
It's so scary.
And it's hard because like a lot of us want control, and failure is not good with control. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we control so much that we avoid any misdirection or any sort of attempts of failure, which is good. You know, if you know what you're doing, that's perfect. But you are missing, in a way, a chance to grow as a person or as a business, as whatever. I just think there's like two people in life, you know. So you've got the people who are constantly wanting to learn and know about what you're doing, whether it's your life or your business, etc. You've got the people who just kind of maybe defend who they are and what they know.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, like obviously you just see two different pathways, but I just feel like, you know, the constant action of like being open-minded and learning about things, you know, you're just going to grow so much from that. And I think if you have that sort of mindset, that's just going to take you places. And it took me places that I didn't even think I was going to go. And I'm still writing it. So it's good fun. Yeah. But, and you get to meet some amazing people, man. And the thing is like who you become and what you do, you attract like-minded people, which is probably the most important thing when you're doing this sort of stuff. Like if you're on a journey of self-growth, right? Attracting like-minded, genuine people elevate you, right? I've had some amazing people along the way who elevated me and gave me the resources to do what I do, right? And it was like, they didn't baby me. They just said, this is it's funny is because it's actually who they were as a person that I got to observe. And I'm like, fuck, that's cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
what kind of qualities did they have?
I think firstly is just being kind is one of the major one. I've been around some really successful people like who are so kind, and you know, they say the highs and the buys, they have conversations with you, and they're
That's
inclusive.
so key.
You know, right? So, and it makes you feel like, man, that was good. You know, you get to hang around or conversate with people like that, and you just deep dive into like who they are. You're like, fuck, that's so cool.
Right. Very generous, very selfless. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if that's what stands out to you, like you gain a lot from that. And you gain some sort of, you kind of adopt a little bit of that knowledge because obviously more people out there have more experience than you, right? I feel like for me personally, like I'm not the most successful, whatever that looks like to you. I'm not the most knowledgeable, I'm not the whatever. Like it's when I get to be around those amazing people in my head, whoever they are, like now listen to them, I gain so much from that. And you know, because like then I'm like, man, that really relates to who I am. And you kind of adopt the things that stand out from them, and yeah, it just helps you become a better version, and like just opens you up a little bit more. Like your knowledge just becomes greater. There's so much value to like listening to people as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I love listening to people. Like being in a gym, you've got different personalities. I love saying, hey bro, how are you?
Yeah, you do. You're very good at that.
And
you really ask too.
Yeah.
I think in this kind of day and age, it's like we're all just stuck in our phones or stuck in our head. And like, this is something I said to you recently where I said, you are so great at just looking people in the eye and asking like, how are you?
Yeah.
You're inviting the real answer.
Yeah.
And I felt that instantly from you. And I think that's really amazing. trait that you have.
Oh, thank
But
you.
you obviously picked that up from people along the way, right? As well, because
Yeah.
it made you feel amazing.
100%. Yeah.
And so that goes back to the observing part,
Exactly.
right? The reflecting, like, oh, that made me feel really good. I want to do that for other people.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was part of like the growing up, right? Is like what stood out to me and what are those qualities like that, man, that was awesome. Like, you know, that really stood out to me. Like, I love that someone did that for me. Imagine if I can do that for others, you know? So even just asking those questions, being inclusive to others and, you know, like that's awesome. So I just kind of like along the way, the things that really stood out to me, like being human was really important, you know? And so I just kind of adopted a lot of that in and just made it, you know, made it become who I am now, I guess. And yeah, it's awesome, man. It's great. Especially like I work with people, obviously. That's what the business is you're working with people and understanding like human behavior is major. And sometimes you get people walking into these doors, man, and you just don't know where they're at.
No.
Like, you know, they could have some major issues going on in their lives that no one possibly knows. And just even saying the hi and the bye could change everything for them and just, you know, asking them how they are. Because I know that happened to me, you know.
So people did that for you.
Yeah. And then so I was like, oh man, that's cool. So yeah, that's important.
Awesome. Because kindness is just one of the most important things in life, right? Do you find that you're able to stick to that value in business? In the sense of, do you find, you know, because sometimes if you need to reach a certain goal or whatever you need to do, like, do you feel that you can get lost on that one sometimes? Like,
yeah. See, that's the hardest thing about like with work. It's like sometimes it's conflicting or who you are as a person. Like, do you bring those traits in business? And I've done my absolute best to do that. But with business, you've just got to have boundaries, man. Because like people can walk over you if you're too kind. And
that's where I think
you
a
know
lot of
what I
people
mean?
struggle.
Yeah.
It's seen as a weakness sometimes.
Yeah.
In
I
a
just
way.
think I always say to people this, like, the gym goes to where I tolerate it to be. So there's a point where someone's behavior or whatever in the gym that's too far, then that's when I step in.
Okay.
That's the other side of me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to be the bad guy. I don't mind being the bad guy, but it's not being a bad guy. And as a negative thing, it's more you've got standards to uphold as a community, and there are other people around. So it's like sometimes allowing one bad thing or negative thing to carry on can spread out to the remainder community. So
culture, right?
Exactly.
So easily.
And that obviously can affect the culture and everything else. And you've got other, you know, other people in here who this is a special place for them. So it's like you're trying to uphold that sort of standard. So yeah, you do have to have like a boundary there. But it's hard because you're dealing with people and sometimes people just don't understand what they could be like if they're having a bad day. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same thing as like getting themselves out of that rut that, oh my God, it's getting worse. I'm making it worse. But, you know, so I actually, it's funny that we're talking about this, as I actually challenged that. So when someone's having a bad day and it could be whatever. And, you know, I actually challenge them to change their attitude.
Right. You
know
do.
what I mean?
I've seen that.
100% challenge them.
Which is good. It snaps people out of it, right? It's all, well, a lot of the time it's just in your mind.
Exactly. If I can do it, you can do it. And they've got to start somewhere.
Right.
The thing is, it's so hard to start something if it's something that you neglect all the time. And this is the thing about owning the space is like, it's a platform to help people to become better versions of themselves. It doesn't necessarily mean just training.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say someone with poor attendance in the gym also, like, is coming in, is just not happy. Like, it's because of the attitude. And you've just got to go, this may sound a bit hectic, but you've got to go to the root of the cause, right? Why, what is it about them not coming into the gym or them coming in a bad mood? What is it that's causing that?
Right.
Bro, call them out on that.
Right.
Because when you hit that spot,
Do you do it gently or do you do it?
There's levels. Three
what do you
strikes, you're
find
out.
works better with people?
There's levels, man.
Okay.
The thing is, you've got to have like a relationship with the person and that connection. And it's funny because I'm quite a sarcastic person when it comes to the gym space. So I talk a lot of shit here. And sometimes I'll say something like snarky just to catch their attention. And they know what I'm talking about. And they'll ignore it. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll consistently do that. And they're like, what is it? I'm like, bro, let's sort your attitude out. What's going on? And a lot of the reasons why people don't have progress and whatnot is because they're thinking negatively all the time, and just enjoy it. Why do you come into the gym? Enjoy it, once you change the attitude, it's like the biggest change ever. And that honestly can go back to your personal life outside of the gym. Like I'm lucky enough I had some amazing coaches growing up playing footy, and they were pretty tough, but those guys like made me understand what it's like to have discipline. When I was younger, I didn't care as much. I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I love training. I was pretty, carefree and whatnot. I still am, but like it just wasn't as serious back then with me with playing footy and whatnot. So they just taught me how to be a bit more professional when it came to like the sport, but also they related it back to how it could change me as a person, as a man, growing up. And like they changed a lot of that. So and they gave me sort of the skills. And so I just think back to that. Oh, there's a little bit more watered down version than that because they were pretty hectic and pretty tough. But I do challenge that side in people, and I think that's been one of the sort of like challenging things for me, is because like obviously my values, like for me it's like you've got to like identify, you've got to acknowledge why you're in that space, like your headspace, right? And a lot of people don't see that or don't find that in them. So
do you think that's because they're not reflecting?
I feel like a lot of them do, but it's not actually, they're not identifying the main cause. They're kind of like around
avoiding it, running away from it.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. We all do that.
Yeah.
We all do that.
Yeah.
It's so easy now.
I know.
There's so many distractions.
I know.
Right?
100%, man. Yeah.
And a lot of the time we'll know deep down what it is, but we're all just like, I'm just not going to think about it.
Yeah. And I think because they're in the space, I care. That's probably the biggest thing. It's because I care about the people coming here. And
you do.
Yeah.
You really do.
And I think that's what it kind of like, where it kind of hits sometimes is like, oh, why is he in my case? Or why is he whatever? It's just because I care. And I just want people to actually understand that side. Like you're going to have you're going to have a better time coming into the gym, or, if you just sort of change that part and work consistently in doing that. It's only hard because you've never done it before. Right? Do you know what I mean?
And it's kind of like inviting that feeling again, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So why not start? And you got to start something. Otherwise, you're going to leave it later on in your life where it's going to be super hard. Imagine being in your 30s and still trying to figure that side of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got bigger responsibilities.
Right.
It's going to be super hard, man.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's not
possible, but hard.
Yeah. Like you've basically got to the point now that that's all you know. That's all you believe. And now you're going to try change a little bit of that. And you're going to be like, nah, that's way too tough.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're younger, that's like the perfect time,
to kind of mold yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 22 to like 27, man. How good. Enjoy it.
So the belief side of things, did you have a lot of limiting beliefs, would you say, before that turning point that you needed to just shatter?
Honestly, not much.
Okay. It was just that you weren't showing up in the way that you wanted.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, I just wasn't sure where I was going, with my life. And I think I was just a little bit like lost. So in terms of like my beliefs, and like I was raised a certain way, but I kind of like quickly just realized that that's not the only path. So once I'd accept that, it was just kind of like, okay, I'll just follow through and see what happens. I think that was probably the biggest thing, because I'm obviously Filipino. I come from, like a Filipino family is like a family, we're always together, etc. And that was just like separate, like different to like how my life turned out to be.
Okay.
So once I've sort of overcome that, not overcome it, but more just accepted that, okay, this is, it's not the life that I'm going to have at the moment, then then that kind of changed everything for me. So it was kind of just like learning stuff on the way. Like everything was new to me. I was kind of excited. Like it actually just became exciting to learn things about myself that I didn't know, and also my potential. I didn't realize. I was like, whoa, what the hell? Like, and yeah, which is really cool, which is really exciting. I think you get to a point, you're like, even now, like I look back and I'm like, man, proud of me for getting through that. Do you know what I mean?
That's good.
It's just mindset is everything, at least for me personally. Having that, I get so addicted with the progress, bro. I love saying this, progress, not perfection.
Right.
We always have a destination where we want to go, but I get so addicted to the journey and the progress on the way to that destination. And the destination isn't even the end. It's like maybe
your
level
potentials,
1.
right?
You know what I mean? Now you've got another level, or it's kind of like playing a video game. You clock level 1, there's another one, and it just gets harder. But the intensity of life gets harder. But you just you have the skills that you've acquired to like challenge that. So it's like you're a tradie, right? You wear a tool belt and you just keep adding tools into your belt. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. And don't get me wrong, it's not flash. It's not a straight path. Shit's fucking hard. There are moments where you like question yourself. You're like, what is
I was going to ask you that. Do you
100%, bro.
Which is really reassuring in a way to hear, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah.
I think a lot of us, we're all kind of looking around at other people and thinking like, oh my gosh, they know exactly what they're doing and I don't.
Yeah.
Right? And we're all thinking that.
Yeah, bro.
So that's really interesting to me. But do you let that phase you, or do you just listen to those thoughts and you're kind of like...
So this is where experience for me comes in. Like the experience acquired through that journey is what helps me keep composure.
Okay.
So things could happen and it's probably affected me, but I'm able to stay composed and like think about what's going on. So like the worst thing we can do sometimes is when things go south, is do something then and there, in my opinion.
Okay.
Once you do something then and there, you're acting emotionally. Do you know what I mean? And you're probably going to make the situation worse.
Okay.
So I've just learned to like let it happen.
Yeah.
Sit in my shit for a bit and just like acknowledge the situation or figure out what's going on. And then once it passes, once I get that feeling of like I get myself back, then I can make moves into how to deal with that situation. It's not easy. And it's probably one of the hardest things I've had to learn, especially when I was younger, because I was quite emotional as a younger person, like as probably puberty, but I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely, it's a great skill to have. And it's like it's in those moments, it's like you're thinking about, fuck, what's going on? Like, this is all bad. Like, what's going to happen next? My life's going to fall apart or whatever.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to die.
Catastrophizing, right.
I realize I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
And if there's a will, there's a way. So I'm like, I'm not going to die. Johnny, you're not going to die. So relax.
Right.
Then realize.
But it can really feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's just us being humans.
Right.
You know? And then you kind of go, okay, sweet, let it happen. What can I do? And how do
you bring yourself back to the equilibrium, you know?
Well, it's tough because you know what's crazy is that I spend a lot of time on my own, and it's like it's so valuable to like be able to be in your own space and be happy and think about stuff. And I think that's helped me heaps. Just letting it be, and then like just being in my own space and thinking, and you know, letting it happen has been one of the sort of best things I could have done. Sometimes it gets super overwhelming, and you just can't do much about it. So obviously for me, I come into the gym, you know, and I do what I do in the gym. I just move around, and then, you know, you can kind of think clearer after. But nothing's ever like straight, like solution. Nah. There's going to be some bumps on the way or whatever. But that's just part of it. Do you know what I mean? Once you start learning to be able to handle those sort of moving parts, then you can kind of move around a bit better. And yeah.
Do you feel able to ask people for help?
Oh man, this is my biggest problem.
Right.
Nah, man. So still working on that. The older I get, the more that it does help big time. So yeah, definitely still working on that. And that's definitely an area I need to cover. But yeah, I've had some amazing people in my life that just sort of were there, and some pretty landmark moments that you know, that supported me. And yeah, so don't be scared to ask for help if you need.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to have a good balance of both. Do you know what I mean? Because I always think, for me personally, like I used to think, oh, if I ask for help, I'm never gonna figure this out because I'm just gonna lean into that. Do you know what I mean? Vice versa. So that's just my mentality. And then I realized, man, I'm just being stubborn.
Right.
So
right.
it's having the humility to be like, okay, this is the way I'm thinking. I might need to do the opposite. So,
okay.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like, you know, give or take. But yeah, definitely.
And do you often realize that in your reflection time? Because I feel like this is huge for you. I try to reflect every day, but I find it quite difficult actually. Yeah. There's a resistance to it. I still haven't figured out why, but it sounds like you also invite that time.
Yeah.
And then you kind of untie knots in your own time, in your own head. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. When I'm sort of reflecting, it's, like I said, it was like being grateful for the things that have happened. It's funny because like a lot of things have happened that weren't so positive, but because I was able to look at it as not a negative thing, I was able to learn from those events. That was kind of like, when I reflect, it's kind of like a good reminder of what happened then and the skills you've acquired, because like even now I forget. Like I sometimes forget like how to deal with things because I'm just like, life moves so fast. Yeah. And I'm like, shit, that's right, this stuff happens. So it's kind of nice to reflect back and be like, that's right. That's what I did then. And you know, that makes so much sense now. So sometimes when it's just good to have those moments where you get to like sit down and think about the past and how you dealt with things or what happened then, what the lessons were.
Do you journal? Do you write it out?
Nah,
just in your
you know
head?
what's funny? I don't write, but I journal on my phone on my notes. I'll write stuff down. So that's probably one of the biggest things I did kind of growing up, was just writing stuff down. Because it was actually really hard. It's funny that we're talking about this because it was actually really hard for me to open up to people. So then
why?
I just didn't know how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. And the older I got, the more it made sense to me. The more I realized it's actually so refreshing to be able to share your thoughts or what you're going through with others if you trust them, because you know, like it takes so much, you know, away from you. Like you just feel so relieved in a way, especially if you're getting constructive feedback from someone that really understands. So, you know, I think if you can do that, do that. But journaling was one of my things that I got to utilize, obviously just on my phone, to like express myself. And that was like major as a younger person growing up, because there was so much in my mind, so much thought. And the mind's always busy. So it was actually nice to be able to do that.
Just get it out.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Right.
And that's definitely one thing that kind of helped you stay calm a little bit, you know?
Oh, because the thoughts can get hectic, right?
Exactly, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Johnny, I want to talk to you about compromises that you've had to make to attain your success that you have now, your version of it, and the compromises you have to make day to day now, running a business, being a CrossFit athlete, all of those things. Like, what did that look like, and what does it look like now, and has that have they changed?
Yeah. So growing up, man, compromise, there was only, for me at the time, there was only really one way. It was just to hustle, to grind. There was nothing else.
Okay.
And I didn't get to go to gigs or anything like that.
You love a wee gig. That would have been hard. Right?
Yeah, crazy. So it was like I worked pretty crazy hours, man. I was working like Monday to Sunday.
Okay.
At Friday nights.
As a trainer?
Yeah,
Okay.
Friday nights I was in the gym. I had my first gym. I was in there like, because it was 24-hour gym, 8 p.m. You know, Sunday I'd be in there for like 3 or 4 hours. And yeah, there wasn't really anything else that I could really, like, that was my priority. So like people would say, oh, you're working too much. I'm like, ugh. Like no one could tell me.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean?
You knew what you needed to do, right?
This is the craziest thing, is like everyone has a season. Like, there's seasons in life, right? Like I needed to do that to be able to get to where I am now.
Okay.
And like where I am now is just more like I get to actually enjoy life, right? So like, man, I live in a mount. Like that's crazy. I didn't even have any aspirations living in a mount. Like I actually moved because of the gym. Like I had to.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't even like, oh, I want to live in the mount.
Nah, you didn't choose, no.
Nah, man.
This opportunity just opened up, didn't it?
Yeah, it just kind of happened, right? And obviously, like life is a little bit more relaxed versus where I was then. So yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. And now it's like the compromise now for me personally, like let's say my well-being, so my work here coexists with my, like, sort of what I do for myself. So I'm at work. If I'm training, I'm working.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just, I've just accepted that.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. I could be doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing to improve on being a CrossFitter, but I'm still working. Like I'll still say the highs and etc. and heavy yarn to people. Sometimes I won't even get all my pieces in, which is, you know, oh well, it is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. There's just a big crossover, and it's always something I found hard to balance, but it's just part of what I do. And yeah, it's not a bad not a bad compromise, because I could be doing worse things. So
right, it's keeping you out of trouble. But how did you stay focused during that time where you were just hustling, right? Because in a world full of distractions now, how I think so many people are struggling with that so much these days. We've all got, well, that's an assumption, but a lot of people have goals and places they want to get to in life, but we're finding it difficult to stay on that track. Like, how did you do that at the time? How are you still doing that to this day? So
like one thing is like I'll go back to hitting rock bottom. Like at that point of my life, it still to this day comes back.
Right.
Like I still think of that. Like
How long was that period?
Man, I would say I was 22, so over a decade now.
Yeah, but at the time, like, how long
Yeah.
did you feel like,
Oh,
shit,
yeah.
I'm in rock bottom? Like,
Man, I was stuck for a few years, man. I was
right? A few
like,
years.
yeah, let's say like let's think about just living. Like
Mm.
I was working 40, 50 hours a week. I was just breaking even. Whatever minimum wage was then, that's what I was getting paid. I was working a trade. Shout out to the people that work trade. You guys are insane.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and there was just a point that like I was literally in the sewer and I was it was something we were doing. I was in the sewer.
You were in a literal sewer.
Yeah,
Oh,
for real.
I thought that you used that metaphorically. Okay.
And I just saw like poop like dripping down, right? And I was standing there. It's like, there's no fucking way.
It's like,
not long after that is when
okay.
everything sort of changed. But I always think
the
back
literal sewer. Okay.
I always think back to those moments. Like there were some hard times, man. And I was only breaking even. Like I couldn't even go out to eat food. Like I was literally, I could just pay whatever I was supposed to be paying. Couldn't even afford to pay for my car to like service it, etc. Like I was at that point, right? And I couldn't see my way out of it except for just like grinding away. And I was so unhappy, man. I like did not want to go to work every day.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to actually go back and meet that person again. Do you know what I mean? Like, and maybe compare the two now, and it's crazy. So, like, so when we talk about with like how do I stay focused? Like, man, I thought back to those days.
Okay.
I still do every day. I'm so grateful. I can go for a walk during the day, go for a skate with my dogs. I can come into the gym and work out. Even then, I couldn't even go to the gym until 8 to 7 p.m. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I was completely wasted, like no energy, no time for myself.
Just burnt out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was young too. And I was like, damn, like I'm 22, bro. Is my life going to be like this? Okay. I'm sure it wouldn't have been, obviously, over time, but it was just like so tough that I had to be like, damn, what do I really want to be? But yeah, like even to this day, bro, I like think back to that. And I think once you have that moment and you've that experience, you're going to do your absolute best to like, to just keep pushing. Right. You know what I mean? Like there's no way I'm going back to that. Who knows? But that's kind of like what it was. And honestly, bro, the biggest thing was like the first question you asked me was just being happy, right? Like being happy with who you are and what you do is one of the biggest things you can ever give yourself, because that shit's so contagious, like you being around people wanting to be around you, everything else you do in a social or whatever, like people just respect that.
It's such an energy thing, right? It just radiates. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was just the biggest thing. So yeah.
How would you describe the difference though between happiness and success? Because it sounds like they're quite tied up together.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like success is me being happy. So it's funny because like success can obviously look like a monetary value thing, right? Or the things you have. And that's the funny thing because for me to have the things that I have now, or the things that I like, that's for me. Do you know what I mean? I have the things I have now for me. It's not even to showcase anything. It's just, like that's what I've earned for me. But like a lot of that is a byproduct of the continuous happiness that I have to do what I do. Like I love what I do, and every day I get to wake up to go do it. Like how lucky am I? And lucky is not even a word. Like luck comes with hard work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like luck is part of the journey. Like, because you keep pushing, the luck came. It's kind of like that image. I don't know, this sounds stupid, but it always gets shared on Facebook. It's like there's like two miners. There's one miner that kept going, hit the treasure, and there's one miner that stopped right before the treasure. That person at the bottom was lucky, but he wasn't lucky because he actually just worked all the way through.
Yeah, it's like the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, man. And that comes with that work ethic. So yeah, it's just and it's funny you ask that too, because I constantly have to remind myself, like, why do I do what I do? And I can honestly say it's not even about the money. It's just because I want it to be heavy. I want longevity. Like, I don't want to go back to when I was then and being so unhappy. Like, basically, like, even Raw is built off community, of the people. Like, you know, anything you do that keeps you happy and you're passionate about, the money will come.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's sometimes, and I've known, like, in the past when I focused on money, like, bro, it was so stressful.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even want to do what I wanted to do anymore. It was just like,
when was that you were focusing on
I'd say
money?
it was probably like 27.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
When you were, okay, so you were still in Auckland, were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's probably like when I kind of figured out what I was doing a bit more, and and it just wasn't my thing to even do that.
Had you opened your first gym up there?
Yeah,
at that point?
did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So slightly later, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So but it's good to have that experience, because then you can kind of think back to that and it's like, oh yeah, that's not really my thing. But you know, each to their own. Yeah.
And how much of you being happy now and feeling successful relates to you as a person and how you feel like you're showing up, like, as a good person day to day? Because I think they're pretty linked.
Yeah.
Would you say so? You
100%.
know?
Yeah. Like, not every day's perfect.
No.
Nah. So that's the thing, is like, I'm always happy, but not every day is perfect. And you know, I can't lie about that. It's really like finding a way to be happy when things aren't going your way as well. It's like, that's so important. Like, where, like, running a gym and stuff is stressful, man.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
It's
can
stressful,
imagine.
man.
I wanted to talk to you about stress because that's
bro.
it's such a huge part of everyone's life
Yeah.
now. Is
Yeah.
just stress in different forms, right?
But you know what's crazy is, like, I could be stressed and I could be unhappy, like, out of the gym. But when I know I'm coming into this space, and this is why I think I'm a little bit, like, privileged, is that we have such amazing people in this space that, you know, that it creates happiness in me. And it's a little proud moment that I get to go, man, like, I was part of making that. That's pretty cool. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, there's always the small wins,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That lead to these big successes. And like, I'm not always happy.
No.
Do you know what I mean? That's for sure. And but it keeps me going. And that's the thing. You've just got to learn to moderate. Like, not everything has to be big. Like, you know, the little things is probably more important than the one big thing that's going to happen. So it's kind of a good moment. Yeah.
It kind of relates to, I think, this idea about discipline and then motivation. I think you're pretty good at separating out your feelings from, like, doing the things that you need to do. Even on the days I've seen Johnny come in and he's had like 2 hours sleep and he's just like, I'm so tired. But you're still here and you're able to just show up even though you're feeling rubbish, right? And I think I'm interested in that. Like, even you said, like, the compromises you had to make in your 20s, like not going to things that you wanted to go to, not hanging out with friends maybe at times where you had to work. Like, it's the small sacrifices or compromises to get to a future goal that you have because you know it's important.
Yes.
You're pretty good at separating.
Yeah, 100%. I asked to eat. So that comes with all these responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted the responsibility. I wanted all of that.
Yeah.
Right. And I always remind myself, bro, you asked for this. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, this is what you're getting now. And I'm like, man, so what a privilege to be able to do that, you know, and constantly try to level up and continue doing that. So being tired, being whatever, man, fuck. Back then, I was way more tired. I was unhappy. I was tired. I was broke as shit. I was hungry. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
It's probably my fault.
Yeah. Well, you've got a busy mind.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah,
You've got
exactly.
a busy mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like weighing out these different things. It's like, nah, man, it's not as bad as it sounds. I might be getting in my head a little bit about it, but I get to still come to work where I'm actually happy and be around people who just make me happy and smile. And I get to talk shit and just do this day with everyone else, which is pretty cool. So I just always think back to that. And honestly, I try not to overcomplicate things. And that's the hardest thing I feel like people probably struggle with is that like we overcomplicate things. And I try to keep things as simple as possible, especially with me, with my personal stuff. And it just helps me kind of like manage emotion, etc. And I'm turning up to work. People are coming into work, like, they want to. I've got no excuse. I don't know what's going on in their day. I'm just tired. I just didn't sleep. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I need to check myself all the time as well. If I'm going to do that, then I'm able to act the way I do with everyone at the gym. If I act the way that I do, but I don't do that for myself, I'm kind of a hypocrite, right? Like, it's not a good way.
Have you maybe turned up some days and kind of felt like you're not able to contain your stress? And do you see that affect people?
100%.
Is that, yeah?
Yeah. I just throw some weight around.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, man. But what's crazy is I've gotten pretty good at separating that, especially when coming into work. And it's actually usually how I fix that is like my journey to the gym. So before I even get out of the car, like it's just, and that's things I've acquired as well with like going to work. Because you're dealing with people, man, and people will notice energy.
Massively.
Exactly. And you can never fake that. But it's like once you kind of like understand how to deal with those emotions or whatever, it is a good way to kind of like manage that. It's it's more of a quick fix, but you do have to figure out what is actually going on. But you can do that when you're not going to work.
Yeah.
And it's hard, especially for people who are emotional. That is going to be a high challenge, but the constant action towards that is going to help. Again, it comes to consistency. I've probably done that a million times without knowing. So yeah,
and I think it's about recognizing the power of your mind.
Yeah, 100%.
And those kind of moments where you can shift it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this thing up here is amazing.
Oh my gosh, changes everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone goes through hard times and life can get really tough. But I used to find this actually going to work in London on the tube, and everyone would be like, miserable. I'd be looking around, and it really affects you because you just get sucked into it. And I would just sit there, and I would just remind myself to have that moment every day where I'd be like, Ames, get it together, shift it. And I could feel it happening in my mind.
Yeah, cool.
And then I would go through the rest of the day perceiving things differently. Yeah. Some days obviously harder than others. You can't always do that. Some days you're just like, I can't today. I just need to be in a bad mood. Right?
See, that's the thing, right? Like the example of being in the tube with everyone, it's contagious.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like being able to change that if you can, right? That's the magic. So that's the biggest thing about like doing what we do, helping people and whatnot. And that attitude is so contagious. And that's that's probably a lot of the times the root of the cause of why they are the way they are in the gym if they're not consistent, etc. Right. So, you going to work, like that was one of the things I noticed about me when I was going to work when I was younger. I was like, fuck, I hated this. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. This sucks so much.
And then the thoughts just...
And I was like, whoa, okay, I'm spiraling here. It's actually such a bad negative way of thinking. How do I improve on that? So really, it took some time to really, figure that out, So yeah, that's definitely, yeah.
I think it's sometimes really hard to separate yourself from your thoughts though, right? It sounds like you almost had a bit of a spiritual awakening when you were 22, 23, because you recognize that those thoughts aren't always true, or maybe they're not always reality,
Mm.
right? It sounds like you can actually really reflect on them with quite a lot of clarity.
Yeah.
And I've had times in my life where I've been so just in my own head, and I can't separate the thoughts from what's actually going on. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I still get that now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I said, it's not perfect, and you're constantly working on that. And I think it's just building the awareness that that's happening. Like once you are aware or acknowledge something, then that's when you can take action towards that, right? But it's a constant battle. It's like life, really. You take one step back, two steps forward.
Right.
It's constantly like that. You might win, you'll lose again. You know what I mean? And it's just, that's just like the battle you go through with sort of your headspace. And that's a lot of what, like, where people go in life is obviously a lot of that is through headspace. And we limit ourselves from our true potential by the way we think and how we take things. You know what I mean? And I could have done that too. Like I could have stopped myself from going further, but I wanted to really learn about myself more. So it was more that I challenged that, and you know, and I got to grow from that. But you know, that is one of the major things that a lot of people will kind of go through.
The power of the mind.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I get it. Johnny, what are 3 things that you do? Doesn't have to be 3, but if you can think of 3, what are 3 things that you do to set yourself up for success in your day? Like, what are you repeating every day that kind of like you just know will get you in the right?
I love that.
Headspace.
So one thing is starting the day and getting up early.
Okay.
Is one of the things I've always done, whether if I'm going to work, going to go chill out, get a coffee, like it helps me just kind of like get my day going and think about the task ahead.
Okay. Will you always have the tasks of the day? Like set out? You just
no. So there's always something I'm trying to do or doing, but nothing's ever supposed to happen in that moment or in that day. So it's just like trying to, you know, just plan things and then just having enough time in the day to do the things I want to do. So that's definitely one thing. Like I said, training is one. That keeps me grounded. It's probably one of the more long-lasting activity that I've ever done since I can't even remember when. You know, that
do you train every day?
Not every day. I'm getting old.
The knees.
Yeah, my knees, bro.
But most days, right? You're
most
in here.
Days, yeah. Most days, just moving your body really helps. It's really important. It's something that I preach to people. It's just like do something.
Yeah.
Go for a walk. Go something like it helps you clear your mind, de-stress, etc. So yeah, it's major. And yeah, it's crazy. I don't really preach this. It's just actually eating well.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Eating well and sleeping. Sleeping is something I'm bad at. Over time, I've gotten better every now and then, but I definitely need to work on that. Eating well. You just feel good about everything else. Do you know what I mean? Like, I sound like a fitness influencer. Damn.
Eat your greens. What does eating well look like to you though?
Just cutting out junk food. I'm actually pretty, when it comes to that, man, I'm not anything crazy. I'm not, it's only if I'm gonna go and compete, then I'll tidy up quite a bit, you know, for performance.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know.
Just keep it simple.
Yeah. Don't overindulge, you know, feel good, eat the right types of food.
Yeah. I overcomplicated eating well for so many years. I still do.
True.
But I am like a food assembler.
Yeah, true.
I assemble food. Chicken, rice, broccoli. Like, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of us have this idea that you need to cook every day or make these like amazing meals and the perfect oats and stuff. And actually a lot of the time it's just about
man.
You know.
That's why getting used to boring really helps.
Right.
Like just enjoying boredom is really helpful when it comes to that sort of stuff. And I think in life as well, like there's so many points in life that it's going to get boring and repetitive, right? And you just have to like have those moments because that's actually what's reinforcing your foundation. And, that's part of the journey that's going to create that sort of opportunity for you to have another moment of success.
Right.
So it's kind of like that sort of habit relates to you eating food, right? Like you don't have to eat like crazy types of food, like stay consistent. It's longevity, right?
Yeah.
And it's more manageable, like I used to never cook. Like I would just be so bad.
What would you eat?
Loved like the New World chicken.
The hot chicken.
Pre-cooked chicken when I was younger. But then I started meal prepping. It was so boring. And then I got bored of that. And then I started cooking every day. Now I just barbecue and, it's just going through stages, but it's acquiring those skills, which is really important. And just being happy with those things, eh? So, yeah.
And when you're talking about the day-to-day being boring, when do you know that you just need a little bit of a break or some dopamine or like you want to go to a gig or you want to, like how often will you reward yourself with that?
I'm a spontaneous person.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm bad at planning when it comes to that sort of stuff. I'm just kind of go with the flow. A lot of things for me though is like it's just making sure that it doesn't collide with like I've just got like personal goals with fitness that doesn't collide with that. So I can, maybe after or before I get into some sort of training, then that's when I'll sort of get into that. But I do slip up every now and then, so I'm not perfect. But but it's just, trying to do that. But it's good to treat yourself, man. You've got to have that, because I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not a whatever. And there's so much more stresses in my life, like the gym, etc. that, if I just focus on being an athlete, that's probably going to overcome my main passion, which is, being in the fitness industry, helping people. So it's just learning to moderate that. And so it's seasonal, man.
Yeah.
It's summertime,
Yeah. Let loose. I've just got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you enjoy your success at this point in your life? Do you enjoy it? Because I think there's this kind of saying circulating the internet right now, which is like maybe you don't know how far you've come because you keep moving the bar.
Yeah, bro.
Which that really resonated with me. So it sounds like you're able to reflect and be super grateful every day. That kind of keeps you in that kind of presence, and so you can recognize how far you've come. But do you struggle with enjoying this success or your version of success now?
That's actually a good question, man.
Right.
That's up and down for me. So I think because I've always sort of hustled to find a different level, that I forget sometimes to just stop and enjoy those moments. So one thing I've been using or like doing lately is actually as simple as like coming into this space and just, coming in here and working out and just being like, man, I get to work out in my own gym. So that's like one little thing. So it's like little things that I do to kind of like enjoy what is now. And it keeps me kind of locked in as well, that I don't lose focus. But it's definitely like, I'd say for most people who probably pursue like that sort of level of success or like continuous growth, that's probably for most people they'd struggle with is actually stopping to enjoy everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
then you wake up when you're older and you're like, where did my life go?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about this the other day actually, of like if I, like when I get old, if I die, like what did I actually, like what did I get out of that? Like all of that. Like, and I think like, man, did I actually enjoy it enough? Then like, how much is there to enjoy? So I just think about like, was I happy? Yeah, I was happy. you know, like I just think the simplest, that it doesn't have to be massive. It's just like asking yourself honest questions like, were you happy?
Yeah.
Is that what you wanted to do? And I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
want to do this shit for the rest of my life.
Right.
Right. So that's what kind of like pushes me to pursue more, but also it like kind of like clouds me being able to enjoy those moments.
Yeah.
So it's a weird balance, but yeah, I do. It is something I do like feel like I need to work on as well. But yeah, I think just even stepping into this space, I kind of just go, whoa, this is crazy.
Like I created this community, I created this
Yeah, yeah.
space.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty unreal to be part of that, and to, you know, to think, damn, I was part of that. So
Yeah.
um
How
yeah,
often do you think about that question?
crazy, bro. So I ask myself, are you happy? Every day.
Do you?
Every day, bro. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
man.
amazing.
Yeah, every day, man. It's just why I do what I do
That's
is
so
just
good.
because I wanted to I wanted something to be proud of for myself, you know, like I wanted to find like who I could become and then get to a point where I'm able to help people. And that's literally it. So, and I don't think I could help people if I wasn't happy. That's just honest. Do you know what I mean? I think my values and my ideas would change if I wasn't happy with what I was doing. And it's basically like it's like constantly checking in with myself, but like checking myself that, you know, am I still doing what I love? Yeah. So it's just being honest with yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing sometimes.
Yeah. That's awesome. Hey Johnny, last question. For anyone listening or watching that feels like they're striving to achieve your version of success, but they feel really stuck, like you did maybe when you were 22, what is the best piece of advice that you would give them
Best piece of advice.
for them to carry on and move
Keep
forward?
going.
Yeah.
Keep going, man. That could mean so much. So keep going. And sometimes one thing I've always said is that it is what it is. And you are where you are because that's where you're supposed to be. So sometimes when we fight events and situations, we misdirect ourselves from the actual path that we're supposed to go. So keep chipping away, you know. Yeah, exactly, man. It's gonna pay off. You know, the small time of suffering is worth the long period of happiness and success you get out of that. You just don't know it just yet. It's just the unknown. That's the whole thing about this, is that it's the big unknown. That's why a lot of us get stuck and stop pursuing, right?
Yeah.
But keep going. You're gonna get there, and
Yeah.
do your best.
Do your best. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Johnny, thank you so much for being our first guest on the
No,
podcast.
thank you.
This is so exciting. That was an awesome conversation. Hopefully we'll be back in a couple years, 1 year, 2 years, who knows.
Definitely.
Amazing. That's
thank you, man. Cheers.
wrap.